Perfect. So welcome to everyone to the 20th info session of the NEREUS webinar series, Education and Training in the Space Sector. Today, our webinar will be focused on policy skills and how these skills can be further enhanced and strengthened, especially for young people and professionals, students in regions that they are able to understand how space is organized, how to make better decisions, but also to discuss how regional ecosystems interact at the European, national and mainly regional levels. Just to remind for the new participants that NEREUS is a regional European association. Our members are the regions of Europe. And the key element for regions is regional development. And of course, for the proper regional development, education and training is essential. Apart from that, our associate members are also, let's say, 2/3 of our associate members are universities and research centers. Therefore, the need to promote education and training is even more substantial in our platform. And without further ado, I would like to welcome our esteemed panel for today. I'm very happy and glad to welcome our speakers. Kai-Uwe Schrogl, he is a special advisor for political affairs and professor at the University of Tübingen in Baden-Württemberg. Baden-Württemberg is our NEREUS full member. And I'm very happy to see also today the regional representative of Baden-Württemberg and Professor Nicole Viola from the Politecnico of Torino. Torino is also an NEREUS member. And today we will discuss together with the speakers this crucial thematic. Of course, we will have, and I see that he's just connected, an intervention by Dr. Dimitrios Stroikos, and from representing the University of Bologna, and he's a Marie Curie fellow. More information will follow later on. I would like to give immediately the floor to Kai-Uwe, and you can share your presentation. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Margareta. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for providing me the opportunity to present to you. Now, let's see where it is.
Meanwhile, I would like to highlight, I would do that later on, but maybe meanwhile, while we are waiting for the presentation, I would like to note that Kai-Uwe Schrogl has held significant positions in the ministry, German Economic Ministry, and in the president of ESPI, but also president of the ESA Education Office, part of the strategy department. So we are very happy to have him with us and having all this experience and to share his point of view. Okay, now it's ready. Perfect. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much for bridging this moment. And thank you again for inviting me to talk about, in particular, the social sciences and to ask the question, let's return, where there is the need to bring space policy, governance, space economics, and space law more prominently into the university curricula. And as you see, I'm very closely linked to the land, the aerospace land, and I will of course certainly share also my experience in this respect. And you see it already here on the right-hand side, beautiful scenic Tübingen, where I'm teaching as an honorary professor for international technology policy, which often, but not always, comprises courses on space. Now, you proposed for me to touch the following issues. Where are the emerging courses on space law policy and institutional frameworks? How to encourage faculties to integrate policy-oriented modules in engineering, business, and legal studies, emphasizing the growing demand for individuals who understand governance structures and regulatory developments, and how can regions and academic institutions collaborate. And this is certainly one of the key elements. Now, I would look at the social sciences now. We have other speakers on more also the technical aspects, and I would subdivide this field, social sciences, into politics, governance, and society, economics and public value, as well as law and regulation. And these three elements can and even have to be considered together. You see here on the right-hand side a book we have edited, and I think Dorina Antoni is also in the audience. So Christina, Dorina, and myself set out a research agenda for space policy only 2 or 3 years ago with Edward Elgar Publishing House. And if you are interested to dig a little bit deeper into the status of space policy research, you will find there certainly a number of ideas and also information. Now, the three social sciences, or these three sets of social sciences, are relevant for space because they respond to, first, a growing need to support the key questions of European integration, security, and prosperity. I think this is what we are currently all discussing and working on the European, on the national, and on the regional level to be made possible and to actually work. We further also have to see that we have the regions which play stronger and stronger roles, very self-confident also. And I should say I was recently giving a presentation in the Ostalbkreis, which is a region inside the region. And their motto was, when they announced this presentation, that space does not only belong to Brussels, but it belongs also to the whole. We are, and we were at that moment, discussing European space activities and regional involvement of the Ostalbkreis, which is full of academic institutions, but also the champions of the mid-size companies and technology providers for space. So a self-confident role, a strengthened role by the regions, and I would also like to provide some ideas for this field. Now, we also have to see that we have to intensify the links between academic research / universities and space industries and applications, which are on the spot. And there, in particular with the universities in many countries and many regions, they are governed on the regional level and not on the national level or on any other level. So this is also a responsibility of the regions in both senses, a responsibility they have the power about, but also a responsibility to look into that. And then the last point, I will not go much deeper into it, but it is something which in particular the social sciences are also now currently thinking about their future. And this is that at least we will certainly not be replaced by AI. And when you write your papers, analysis, and whatever by ChatGPT, it will be useless, and it will be counterproductive, I should even say, if you do not have the critical ability to assess, and this comes only with a good university and academic understanding and teaching and training in order to assess what you are offered to. Now, the contributions by universities and research, I start with towards a stronger role of universities and research. First of all, universities and academic institutions should be able to identify topics and research questions and deal with them without interference and dependence. So we see a lot of blind spots which are not be touched by governmental institutions, but also in the public and academic institutions and universities. They are best placed to also touch that which will be useful and which is useful for then any field of governance and development. And universities and academic institutions provide understanding and not advice. This is often misunderstood. They are not think tanks and they are not consultancy companies. They provide understanding, and understanding is at the bottom and at the basis of everything we are doing. Then universities and academic institutions can be much more diverse in every respect and thus provide advantages through broadening all the horizons. And you see here PhD defenses, which I had the pleasure recently to participate. Dorina Antoni, I already indicated her in the audience, but also Lise Dubois in Lyon. And it shows on the top, it's the link between political science and innovation research. And on the bottom, it's more the political science and the history approach, which were applied in these PhD theses. Now, we also have institutions and networks already at place, and I invite you also to have a look into these, and maybe if you are interested, contact these groups because they are wonderful platforms to further the exchanges and also link between these various sectors and disciplines. Now, as I already indicated, universities and academic institutions play really a different role than think tanks, a complementary role. I mentioned here SB, FRS, IAI from the main countries, but there are many more. Stiftung Wissenschaft und Politik, I saw Juliana Süß also in the audience. And it's also completely different to universities. So do not expect from the academic institutions and from the think tanks and the consultancies to deliver all the same. They are different in character, and this is good because this is then complementary. And when you look at the universities, I think they are doing that job excellently. Now, academic networks exist already in our fields. CEMS, for example, you see it on the bottom, management education, so economics. ECSL for law, European Center for Space Law. And we have a number of space policy platforms, Sichtraum in Germany, security and technology, and BISA, the British International Studies Association, which also has a very active team dealing with space policy. Now, key issues in politics and society, which have to be tackled by these groups, by universities, is on the one hand, how can space be effectively integrated in other policy areas and increase their results, efficiency, and output? Second issue is certainly how shall autonomy, independence, and sovereignty of Europe in space be shaped? And this is now the predominant issue when you just open any information or statement by the European Union, also by ESA. These fields are overly important, and they are responded to by these institutions I have just outlined. Third point is, what is the appropriate level? It comes with a second one of securization for space as a critical infrastructure and key elements of defense. And lastly, how shall Europe organize its international partnerships based on its role as a normative power, which we are still in the international field, and their political science and social sciences are extremely important to define, redefine, and further develop this stand. We have also issues in the economic field. And when I say economic field, first point already, I don't simply mean that the companies are strong and good and make a lot of money, but that the economic field is and has to be taken broader, and there this broader picture is typically presented by public value. It's also a political science and social science approach to better understand and measure then also when a sector is really and truly successful and provides benefits to the public. Second point there is, how can strong agencies on the European and national level support a space industry which effectively and efficiently delivers the means for fulfilling policy objectives? And then how can Europe, in particular now through the EU Space Act in the making, and the national governments support the establishment of key principles for the global space economy to provide European industry with a playing field, a level playing field, and market opportunities? And this is something, all these elements which are highly relevant also to the regions, and they are already or should intensify their participation in the definition of these issues and these issue areas through participating actively in the decision-making processes and policy-making processes on the national and, of course, on the European level. And then there are key issues, of course, in law and regulations, how to implement international obligations, for example, or in particular, Outer Space Treaty, but also other legal frameworks as International Telecommunication Union or World Trade Organization in Europe, so that a harmonized legal and regulatory framework is established. And how can European legislative projects and the legal efforts protect from external dependence and also, on the other hand, from internal monopolies? And how can Europe further play a distinguished role in international space law and regulation developments in these international organizations and forums? And there, the universities on the regional level have continuously provided inputs for these activities and fields. Now, there are challenges and gaps where universities and research can make a difference. First, debates in these three fields are often, not always, but they are burdened with thematic as well as institutional conflicts and red lines. Academic research, however, that's my opinion, and it's also clear through the way we work, also in freedom, scientific and research freedom, to transgress these red lines in a constructive way. Space tends also to be a political ivory tower. We still have to see that. It's a little bit strongly put here, but nevertheless, when we break that up a little bit through academic research, we can also identify and often find surprising new thematic parallels and links with other areas where we can learn from. And also, the three fields tend to be silos, and this is why I only showed them in a smaller overlap, where academic research provides established instruments, methodologies, and means for multi-interdisciplinary approaches, additionally with science and technology and application. Now, suggestions for implementation. We certainly should establish more interdisciplinary poles for social sciences, where we bring together political science, economics, and law, often enough in specific tasks, works, and also documents and studies, and also the PhD thesis. It's simply impossible not to reflect the adjacent issue areas, and there the universities have to be open. In some places, they link already at the start of their work when they are established. And I took here two examples from the UK, where at Durham and at Oxford, exactly this is done and foreseen, where space groups and space platforms are established amongst and throughout the scientific disciplines, including also science and engineering. And we see that even more so at Università, which is an initiative which comes primarily from Luxembourg, which also is European-wide on this in this respect. And we see at the Munich University of the German Armed Forces that they also bring together and link political science, international relations with what they are doing as a kind of technological think tank for the armed forces, which becomes more and more important. So this is what is very important, which is, however, also done more or less naturally while it is developing. However, there are and have to be the programs which support that also on the financial level. The open-mindedness of the researchers, I think, is actually there. Second point is to provide publication opportunities for young academics. And we will now hear Dimitrios in a moment. He is fantastic as the editor-in-chief of Space Policy, also giving young voices a chance to publish. We can also see that I am part of that effort with Nomos publication, where we set out a series of publications for young academics in the field of outer space policy, that we have the opportunity through established journals like Dimitrios' Space Policy, or our series of master and master thesis primarily, where we then can have the opportunity to stimulate young academics in the social sciences fields, make them visible, and also show how we can then link the academic fields together. And of course, there are a lot of online opportunities for that purpose. And I guess that further suggestions will come also for funding when we now go into the discussion. Last slide, I remind again on these three fields: politics, governance, and society, economics and public value, and law and regulations, which constitute the field of social sciences, which are relevant for the activities of outer space. And with that, I would like to end and say again and stress how important the role of the regions is in this field, and how strong they are already involved. But of course, such an involvement cannot be strong enough. So thank you very much for providing me with the opportunity to speak.
Thank you very much, Kai-Uwe, for your insightful presentation. Really, there are many things to highlight in the presentation, and but we don't have enough time for this. So I would like to focus on one specific aspect. For sure, we learned from your presentation that there are institutions and there are enough materials for space policy skills. At one point, you called the academic political ivory, indeed, but there are the institutions that can really enhance the space policy skills. The key question here is how we engage professionals and students that are equipped, let's say, with technical skills. We have the upcoming EU Space Act that, of course, will impact all space sector, but also, let's say, the community of engineers, satellite engineers, so people that they would need to have the necessary knowledge of this act and regulations, and of course, the addition of space policy skills will significantly help them. And there, I would like to ask you, given your long-term experience in education strategy, mainly your experience with the ESA's education office, I would like to ask you if you know specific models or best practices that could be particularly effective in this domain.
Yeah, very important question, Margareta. It is necessary that these ivory towers are broken up. You don't need a lawyer who has absolutely no idea of the technologies. He or she is then trying to govern, trying to find out how it is to be regulated. So this has to come at a very early stage, at least as a principle. So it's necessary that the social science professors don't tell their students that don't care about technologies. You focus on your topic, and this is political science or law or economics. This is something we have to promote vis-a-vis the persons, also the professors. But then it has to be also translated into joint actions and joint activities. At universities, as you know it, only a little bit comes top down, and this is good. So a university typically trying to find its research topics, find the way it works should not be too much influenced in a way that it's guided more or less. You can guide by money, fine, but you will not guide in a convincing way if the professors and the academic institutions are not themselves getting to that point. So it is a dialogue. We have to lead with the professors in this field that they shall be open to collaborating and cooperating with their counterparts in the scientific and in the technical and in the engineering and also the application fields. And this comes often by chance. I from time to time, I get the requests from chairs in technology development or applications asking to present something on policy and law. And this has also to be systematized in some way, and only then be supported by programs, often on the regional, national, but also on the European level. So it is something where we also should make, and this is why NEREUS is so important in that, and I'm so grateful also that you take this topic for the dialogue today, that this opens minds and opportunities. So I will take this event as a reference when discussing with the people from the scientific, engineering and technical field to look into the opportunities which arise from collaborating.
Thank you very much, Kai-Uwe. And at this point, I would like to remind the audience to post their questions in the chat. I am very happy to see that many regional representatives are here with us from Baden-Württemberg, from Germany, from France, Brittany region, from the Canary Islands. So feel free to ask your questions, and then I can give you the floor. Then I'm very happy to introduce to you Nicole Viola from the region of Turin. She is a full professor of aerospace systems at Politecnico di Torino, and she is also the coordinator of the Aerospace Center of the Politecnico di Torino. I will leave Nicole to make her presentation, but actually keep in mind that she represents a best practice in her region because she leads this engineering community that request space policy skills, the requirement of space policy skills. We are looking forward to hearing from you how you deal with this matter. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Margherita. And let me share the screen first. Okay. So.
And of course, please present to us the activities of your department and your work.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So, well, okay. First of all, yeah, I'm just trying to. Okay, that's better. So, well, first of all, thank you, Margherita, for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to give you this presentation. Well, this is a very interesting topic. As you said, Margherita, I'm coming from, let's say, the engineering community. So I have, let's say, a technical background in aerospace, and I'm trying, let's say, to move forward to this multidisciplinary approach with social science. But okay, let's start. I would like first to give you, before, let's say, entering really into the topic, into the matter of the topic, and give you some, let's say, descriptions of how we are proceeding with this respect at Politecnico di Torino. I would like to give you a very brief introduction on Politecnico and what is happening in our region. So let's start from Politecnico di Torino, just for those of you that are not aware of our history and numbers. So very, very shortly. Here there is a kind of timeline of Politecnico di Torino. In Turin, actually, in our region, we have two, well, actually three big universities, but let's say I would like to mention the biggest one, Politecnico di Torino, which is the biggest university in the region for engineering and architecture. And we also have University of Torino, where we have all social sciences that we were mentioning, so law, medicine, economics, and so on. Our history, Politecnico di Torino, dates back to 1859. You see a beautiful old picture here of the Valentino Castle, which is still campus of our university. And then, let's say, a lot of steps happened since then. Now, here is let's say, a very short view of the campus that we have let's say, at Politecnico di Torino. So, as I said, I was briefly mentioning not just engineering, but also architecture, urban planning, design, sustainable mobility, and what we call lifelong learning. And basically, we are spread in the city of Turin. So you can see, let's say, a schematic of the map, and all the campus are in town. In terms of numbers, this is a bit old, but let's say the overall, the community is 40,000 people. So with, of course, the great majority of students. This is, as I said, dates back, it's a bit old, but so numbers are a little bit higher now. So we are talking about 38,000 students, and then we have basically 1,000 professors and 1,000 technical staff, administrative staff. But let's talk about what is happening right now. So I would like to share some news about our region, and specifically talking about aerospace, the aerospace city. So here again is a kind of map of the city that you cannot recognize, I mean, but it is just in the background. The aerospace city, Città dell'Aerospazio, as we say it in Italy, will be located in an area of the city, not so far from the main engineering campus of Politecnico that you can see here. But let's have a closer look at the aerospace city. So the aerospace city will be located in an area of town where we already have the main aerospace industry. So this is, let's say, a map of the town where you can recognize some names of this industry. So Space and Leonardo are already there. Altec, which is, let's say, Thales Alenia Space and Italian space agencies. And we have so a very wide area here in the city, which will be entirely dedicated to this new aerospace city, as we call it. This aerospace city is based on an agreement between the region itself, so Piedmont region, but also the municipality of Turin, so the town itself, the main universities, so Politecnico di Torino, University of Turin, and also the main companies, so Leonardo Company and Thales Alenia Space. And what is the purpose? Well, it is a big effort. And the purpose, of course, is to facilitate the synergy, as you also were saying before. So the synergy, the collaboration between different actors, leading industries, SMEs, research centers, universities, to improve competitiveness and efficiency, to be recognized as a hub for aerospace in Europe. The size, as I said, the size of the area, of the overall area, is quite big. There will be new areas for laboratories, as you can see here. These will be, let's say, a real place where we could collaborate. We will collaborate together. So we are talking about more than 15,000 square meters for new labs, and also 15,000 square meters for SMEs. Funding already in place, more than 15 million euros. And this is currently under construction. So we are really in this moment, this building here, laboratories, is under construction. So and we are targeting to have the new building ready for, let's say, the integration of the new research infrastructure by the end of 2027. Then we know that there might be delays, but okay, in a more realistic way, maybe the beginning of 2028, just to give you some number. And here, it's huge investment of the region to, let's say, to tackle and to promote not just research, education, and technology transfer, but also public engagement. This is also very important to mention. Because we will have here also a museum for aerospace. So just really to open up to the public. And in the next slides, I have some, let's say, pictures. These are really images of how the area will look like. Here you can see, maybe you can see a kind of, I don't know how to say it, like space shuttle or whatever, just to give you an idea of the museum that will be nearby. And this is actually the building which is currently under construction. So that could be an entrance to, let's say, to be really inclusive and open to the overall community of the town. But let's talk more about this, let's say, the aerospace city and what Politecnico di Torino, I mean, really the role of Politecnico di Torino within the aerospace city. We are, and this is really what we are working at in these months. This is the new aerospace interdepartmental center for aerospace of Politecnico di Torino. The name is IDEAS. This is a name that we have given to the center, and IDEAS stands for Integrated Digital and Experimental Aerospace for Sustainability. So this is really an effort of Politecnico di Torino to, let's say, to work in a very multidisciplinary way within our universities. We know that I mean, we have, of course, the aerospace engineering department, where a lot of skills, a lot of competencies in aerospace are. But we also know that aerospace skills are practically spread in many other departments. So we have the electronic department, electronic engineering department, the computer science engineering, I don't know, the applied science, the, let's say, the energy engineering department, the management department, so many departments. And this is, let's say, the idea, of course, here is to put all these research groups together and possibly more research groups that might be interested in aerospace to work together in a cooperative way. I would like to give you some, some additional description about, let me just, well, what is that? Sorry. So let me just give you some, let's say, description of this center. First of all, the center, we have received funding from the region. The overall funding for this specific center is 6 million. We have received this funding from the region, but also from internal funding. Plus, in addition, we have some additional funding from the, let's say, Politecnico di Torino. And the ambition is really, I like to read this because this is really in line with NEREUS. So this is the ambition of the center to leverage the region's space and aeronautics expertise for the benefit of broader communities. So this is really our ambition. And we, how can we achieve this goal? By touching, let's say, working on all different aspects. So research, of course, technology transfer, of course, education, and also public engagement, the citizens of the city, to explain them why are we investing so much into aerospace. And some, let's say, ideas about ideas, okay, about our center. We have 3 pillars: digital, technology, and environment for the digitalization of the processes, design, and
Nicole,
simulation.
sorry to interrupt you. Just if you could close in 1 minute, so
Yeah,
we
okay.
can tap
Yeah,
into the
absolutely.
discussion.
Absolutely, I'm there. So these are the pillars of our center. These are the laboratories. So just to give you an overview, we have 2 laboratories for space, human space exploration, an analog facility, and one for space technology for let's say not habitable modules. Downstream space, digital planet, and 2 laboratories for aviation, for advanced air mobility and sustainable aviation, for hydrogen, most of all. Let's get to the let's say starting at Polito and the competencies that can be. So let's try to look at this aspects. Okay, I will go quickly through it, and I would like to focus on these 2 master's program that this is what we have at the moment that might be of interest for the discussion. So the aerospace engineering is, of course, is a Master of Science and Bachelor of Science, but it is a very traditional one. So we don't have any, let's say, courses there in space law or anything like that. Whereas in the engineering and management master degree program, we have a new track, let's say, on space economy. And this is a brand new, it opened just 3 years ago. And so the core is management and engineering. So but we are trying to bring some technical and specifically space on space, so space technologies and systems, some courses there, and some specific courses on space economy and law. We are not ready yet. I cannot say space politics because that's not there. So this is I was taking notes as something very important, but yeah, we are trying to increase the multidisciplinarity from this point of view. And last but not least, I would also like to mention this international master program that we have in Turin on human space exploration with France and UK, where we also let's say course. Well, we have one course on, let's say, more the economics point of view, not really space law or policy, but I think we can work on this as well. And this is the final slide, and sorry for being late. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for this illustrative presentation. And while I was listening to you, I have to say that our regions really develop their ecosystems, their education and training ecosystems. I saw clearly at your presentation the connection between your university and the region. Region supports the initiative. Also, the university is really active on this aspect. And from my side, I would like to ask you, why do you think there is a need of policy skills in this aerospace center? I remember that from our discussions, you mentioned that there is a strong request. It's a kind of it's an idea that you would like to implement, which wasn't before. I mean, traditional aerospace sector, we know that it's really the the hardcore engineering. So please,
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for the question, Margarita. Actually, this is, this is something that is not entirely new in aviation and space. There are a lot of commonalities, but some differences. So we have a common, let's say, aerospace degree, Master of Science. So when it comes to aviation, this is quite obvious. So we have some exams on certifications and regulations, because without understanding certifications, you cannot design and operate any aircraft or anything. So these are, technically speaking, requirements for your system. When it comes to space, I'm talking about the, let's say, the education path. Actually, we do not have in the traditional Master of Science at the moment in aerospace engineering, we do not have any course on law and regulation, also because this is clearly very new also in Europe. We are talking about the Space Act, but anyway, I think this is absolutely important, and we should, let's say, we should give the students the skills, so make them understand that this is clearly important, because these are requirements for their technologies and systems. And so their systems and technologies will have to comply with these new requirements. So this is clear, and this is really the reason why it is absolutely important for also for technical path and careers, let's say.
And also to complement Nicole, as NEREUS, we noticed that as of 2019, many of our regions start developing their own regional space strategy. Of course, their regional space strategies and policies are based on following the national space following the national space strategy. However, this is really relevant to what you say, that space comes really into the regional level, closer to the user. And we also see that with our universities, even some of our universities, such as yours, which is a bit more technical with regards to space. It's starting now to we start now to have this discussion also in this direction. Please, to remind the audience, feel free to ask questions to our speakers. And at this point, I would like I see a question. This is from give me one moment to open because today I have a very slow connection. Yes, it's from Dr. Andrea Lenz from Hawking Company. And the question is, are the regions working together in concentrating on certain abilities to complement each other? Is this a question for a specific speaker, Andrea, or a general one?
Well, it's for Nicole. It's focused for Nicole because she was just presenting that, and it was just a question I asked myself. But of course, it would after that also interesting to hear other views on that.
No, thank you for the question. It's a very good question, and actually that was I can answer maybe with a very practical example. The aerospace center ideas, as investments are huge overall in the aerospace city, but then also specifically for the aerospace center, of course, one of the main, let's say, objective that we had and we had to keep in mind was not to, let's say, we were to replicate something that was already available in other, well, first of all in our region, but also in other regions, and to let's say to invest in new research infrastructures that could be complementary to some others, to possibly have a kind of let's say chain of laboratories that work together. Of course there will be some overlapping, of course, but I can make you some examples. When we talking about the human space flight laboratories. So first of all, we were talking and with friends and colleagues, Thales Alenia Space. They have many terrains, Mars, Moon terrains. So that was okay. This is not what we are going to do. So let's think together. So we were thinking together of something that could be of interest for the region, for both of us, not to replicate something that they did not have. And also we were also thinking of Europe as a whole, because, for instance, in Europe there is MELISA. MELISA is a very
Space Biology Center.
Is a very well-known program. I mean, 30 or I don't know if it's running since 20 years or on again, human space flight, bioregenerative, but focusing specifically on certain functions like waste management. So we decided to have a, let's say, kind of complementary infrastructure focusing on other functions of environmental control and life support. And we were also talking with them, So this is let's say, a practical example. We are doing this. In this case, of course, it doesn't always happen, but this is really, I think this is really the objective, our purpose, our goal, because when investments are big, when you are building something that is going to remain, to stay there for years, you cannot just waste money and then realize that it's not used.
It has to be sustainable.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you, Andrea, for your question, and Nicole for your comment. And now, yes, please, Kai-Uwe. Yes.
Maybe I can complement from the side of the social sciences, because the question is indeed applicable, I would say, to both of us. I pointed out that we have in the social sciences a number of platforms where the various, let's say, faculties can meet and exchange. So the lawyers, the economists, and the political scientists. They are there, and I call them platforms for exchange, because they are decidedly not there to then make work shares or concentrate or share the various questions and then to complement each other. In the social sciences, this does not work, and even should not really be considered. Because just as examples in political science, you cannot simply say this university or region now takes care of international relations. This other university or area, and I see Dimitrios nodding, is taking care of space applications, the policy aspects of space applications. This is not possible. And it's also not useful, because then the variety of views you are needing also to make your assessment of what is applicable, what is useful, what you should follow in your decision making and so on, would get lost. So in the social sciences, we are absolutely not afraid to be called, oh, you are doing duplications. Of course, we do duplications. We do not need big installations as Nicole needs, the which would require investments of millions and so on. We think and we conceive, and this is then the point where there is not a concentration, that there is not the look for simply complementary research and university academic activities, but that there is a full view which is necessary to then come up, of course, with special topics and themes which can be brought in the decision-making processes and also the public debate.
Very important, Kai-Uwe. And now I would like to continue this discussion and bring to the floor Dr. Dimitrios Stroikos. I think you already made a fantastic introduction, Kai-Uwe, for Dimitrios, but let me add also that he is based in our member region Emilia-Romagna and works with our together with our associate member, the Bologna University. He is a Marie Curie Actions postdoctoral fellow there. He's also the head of space policy program at the London School of Economics. And of course, the editor of the most popular space policy journal, the International Space Policy Journal, and then he's an expert also in China, space and China and India. Of course, also to add here that Dr. Stroikos, your academic experience in UK universities would also, let's say, add in this discussion, because my question to you is the following one. Europe, as we heard already, Europe trains excellent engineers. We have no doubt about it. The millennial generation is the most educated generation ever. So based on your experience, are we training enough experts in strategy, governance, and power politics in space?
Thank
it's
you,
a very general question, but just to bring the discussion in that direction.
Well, first of all, thank you, Margarita and NEREUS, for the invitation to intervene in this very timely and important discussion, and thanks to the speakers for their excellent and very interesting presentations. I do agree that Europe trains excellent space engineers, but in my view, we're still not training enough experts in space strategy, governance, power politics, at least not in a systematic way across European universities. So I see that there is a huge gap between the policy world and universities as institutions. And the issue is that there is a clear demand. You can see it in the growth of executive courses, summer schools, short professional programs on space policy, security and regulation. It is also worth mentioning, based on my experience, when I was a fellow at the LSE, that I used to supervise, and that was at the International Relations Department, that I used to supervise roughly 5 graduate and undergraduate postgraduate dissertations each year related directly to space policy. And those students more or less would find easily a job in think tanks, in governments, in European institutions. So again, the demand is very clear, but it hasn't translated into, if you like, a stable embedded teaching in the mainstream disciplines where you would expect it: political science, economics, sociology, geography, history, ethics and philosophy. Space law, maybe Kai-Uwe can elaborate on that. In my view, I think it was often traditionally a bit more established, but beyond law, space, yes, better established historically. I assume with many issues as well at the institutional level. But beyond law, I think space is still too often treated as a niche topic, somebody else's work, job, or maybe the think tank's job, than a core part of how Europe thinks about power, markets, and society. And I think this gap matters because Europe's space environment has become more dynamic and more political. We talk a lot about security and defense. spill over into civil space. Commercial competition is accelerating. And I think space also in this regard requires a global perspective. And what I mean by that is that we're seeing power and authority shifting to the non-Western world, but we also still lack adequate expertise on China and space, India and space, African space policy, Latin American space policy, or clearly Asian space policy. But at the same time, Europe interacts with all these countries and regions. So I'm a bit more pessimistic, at least for now, but at the same time, tentative steps are being made, as Kai-Uwe highlighted, but we need perhaps to institutionalize more this cross-disciplinary approach, make space more normal case across EU studies, international politics, political economy, and create perhaps clear pathways that combine technical knowledge with space engineering, with governance, politics, and so on. So we can invest, if you like, in a more stable teaching and research capacity. So this isn't left to the handful of enthusiasts such as Kai-Uwe, although actually we do need more people, more experts of the caliber of Kai-Uwe. I think that's the key message here, more Kai-Uves. So more needs to be done in this regard, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Dimitrios, for your intervention. And to highlight here that indeed there is an increasing need. I think I added it before, but regions are starting drafting their space strategies, so they will need experts to help them. They will need this kind of knowledge. Before Nicole presented the Aerospace City Center, also in the future, there will be people that will need to help the decisions in such centers, policy decisions. I mean, I see the need everywhere. And before I give the floor to the four of you, I see that they have regional representatives connected. So I think it's that if you have any comment on this aspect, is there such a need in your region at this moment regarding the space sector?
Margherita, can I just very briefly,
Yes,
just to
yes.
highlight
While,
here, because
while we give time for our regional representatives to leave their comment, yes, please.
Thank you very much. I should mention that the Marie Curie Fellowship is to assess the EU space strategy on security and defense from the angle of regions, because we tend to have this top-down approach to space policy, but we lack a more bottom-up approach to space policy. So the research is there. Again, tentative steps, the expertise is there, but it's still not institutionalized in many ways. And this demand, I expect it to grow in the future as well. So it should just link that also with regions. Sorry, thanks for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you, Dimitrios. And maybe, I don't know if Adriano Gili, you are still with us. You represent the Emilia-Romagna region. Do you have any comment to share with us on this aspect? So feel free to, yes, hello.
Hi, Margherita. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present
it's
our
our
comments.
pleasure, because your region today is very much highlighted together, of course, with Torino. So please.
Thank you very much. I really appreciated, of course, all the presentations of the various speakers. And just to say how hot this topic is for our region, I just would like to say in the past 3 days, we had 2 meetings on space activities, space policies. The first one was actually at national level. It involved all our regions. I can't see if there are regional representatives of Piemonte, but I would say if they are not here, well, Piemonte was certainly well represented.
We had before Piemont, but I think he left. Pierre, I think we had Pierre before with us.
Right. However, I believe that Professor Viola knows Giuliana Fenu, who is responsible for Piemonte region for activities focusing on space in general. However, even the Lombardy region and Lazio region were present, including a representative from the Italian Space Agency. The discussion covered also the ministerial Congress, which took place in November of ESA, I'm referring to. And of course, the impact of the ministerial decisions at country level, including the Italian contribution, which amounts this year, or for this plan, to over 3.5 billion euros. So that is to stress the interest and the importance of the activities in this sector. Now, there are a number of programs which we're very keen in becoming more involved with. One of them is certainly IRIDE, which is a constellation of constellations, and thanks also to Professor Stroikos for the opportunity that he gave us even last year to introduce ourselves and get to know more about what the university systems, not only in our region, but in our country does. Because I certainly believe that not enough is done in terms of establishing stronger relationships amongst all the European regions, but even at a national level. Yes, it's understood that we all strive to emphasize the activities and we are deeply involved in promoting what our regions do. However, this still represents a gap in the system that would provide us, in a broader system that would provide us opportunities as European players. Our region is certainly active at European level, and I would like to stress also the importance of projects and opportunities such as STEP. STEP is by definition a European opportunity. It brings us the possibility of identifying technologies, researches that can be put at other regions' disposals in order to increase the autonomy of Europe in this field. So certainly one of the goals of Europe at this point in time, as it was mentioned before, is to reduce our dependency on the traditional leaders in this sector. We all know, and even yesterday, Professor Sala of the Politecnico of Milano said the dependence of Europe on certain materials is 100%. We cannot avoid that. However, striving to identify new technologies and even new materials must remain one of our primary goals, because only by doing that we'll be able to gradually decrease that kind of dependency. So in this, I can only welcome from the public administration viewpoint a stronger relationship with all universities, all research centers, so as to stimulate this ongoing discussion. One very, very rapid note, in September this year, there will be the first event of its kind in our region, based on the development of a new space economy. We would welcome the possibility of having regional partners, not only from Italy, but also from Europe, into the discussion, the debate that is going to take place, because only by doing that, we will shorten, we will reduce the gap that I mentioned earlier. And I think it's necessary to create more and more opportunities like these. Thank you.
Adriano, thank you for your valuable comment. And I have to say here that this is a key pillar of NEREUS activities, interregional collaboration. This is our goal, to bring, and we are working on that on a daily basis, to bring together regions and really align these actions with them. And of course, the regional stakeholders, universities and so on. Please, the floor is yours to Kai-Uwe, Nicole, and Dimitrios for the comment of Adriano Ghili. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I could take up one specific point, and I was very impressed by that statement now.
Yes, yes, indeed.
And this is addressed to you, to NEREUS, and it concerns what are the key questions we are now facing in space policy and space regulatory developments. And you could take the effort because it is not yet there in a way which would be focused like you would focus it. And this is to bring together for a discussion of the project of a EU Space Act, political scientists and lawyers looking at this project from a regional perspective. We have a lot, and the Commission is taking care also of having experts talking about the broader but also specific activities like space traffic management, but not so much from a regional, but from the perspective then of harmonizing the views and positions of the member states with the European level. So you could take up, if you wish and deem that useful, bring together political scientists and regulatory and legal aspects to discuss and find out also, first of all, find out the impacts of the EU Space Act plan for the regional level. And there you would then see and also make those in the regions, the university people in the regions, feel a little bit of a responsibility of working together, even when they have completely different viewpoints and perspectives of how then the impact would be on that level.
Thank you, Kai-Uwe. Nicole, would you like to add something on Ghili's remark?
Well, I was as I said, I also in the when it comes to space economy, my let's say my perspective is always to bring the technology content, you know, so and to bring these skills. And so to facilitate, let's say, the communications between technology side and of course social science side, so which is not always easy. Which is not always easy. I was thinking, you know, as professor now, maybe this is something that this could be an interesting assignment to our students, how to, you know, to work a little bit on the Space Act, which I was reading it myself and and trying to understand, also in combination with the
I see Kai-Uwe is impressed.
I was
difficult. It's difficult. It's difficult.
For me it was difficult, and I would say it was even more difficult because I was trying to, you know, to read it in parallel with the Italian space law, trying to find overlapping gaps. The focus here is on this topic, and in Italy, in Italian space law, we have other focuses sometimes. So it was really a little bit confusing, but this could be a good assignment to our students to you know, kind of digest both of them and how to see, I mean, how what can they think of the impact on the region? So these two big documents, what is the impact on our region, for instance, for our case, just as a case study, you know, as a case study. Yeah, and all regions could be more or less the same. I have no idea actually, or yeah, so just some thoughts.
Thank you, Nicole. We have a question from coming from Stella Schubel. Stella has worked together with the member of the European Parliament, Nicholas Nienas, who is really fond of space matters. And we had also the pleasure to have him invited in one of our Copernicus for Regions events. And she asks here the following: we have heard a lot about the integration of space law and policy into more traditional educational programs. From my point of view, Stella, hello, nice to see you. From my point of view, no, we haven't heard a lot about this. We need more to raise awareness about this. But then you ask, would you say it's equally necessary, possible for individuals with a space policy background to obtain training of aerospace engineering, etc., especially when seeking to focus on the regions? Maybe, I don't know to whom you address the question, to anyone. Dimitrios, maybe you are the next one in line. And of course, you can take the floor, the Kai-Uwe and Nicole later. Please.
So if I get the question right, is that we haven't seen much of space policy.
Yes.
But there's also the other way around about engineering and technical background. Did I get that correct?
Stella, you could take the floor, please.
All right, thanks. Well, because this conversation now has mostly been about how to increase the knowledge about space policy, etc., in the regions, because currently the hubs are mostly about engineering and all the practical things that are being done, and there's a lack of space policy. So I do understand that, but I myself am coming from a space policy background and have no idea about the engineering sides of things, etc. So if I were to focus on the regions and go to such a hub, for example, would it be like there's always the strive to include space policy into the engineering, but how necessary is it to have an understanding of the engineering to go to such a hub if only having a policy background?
Well, that's a great question. I think that if you can call it a field or subfield is emerging, I think it's inevitable to separate. It would be impossible to separate engineering and technical knowledge from space policy, including legal and other social aspects of it. So there will be a demand, I think, for a cut across of disciplines. We call it space studies. But I think the most important thing here is also to bring a better awareness of a European perspective. I think this is also lacking. Whether it is engineering, whether it is space policy, accompanied by a global perspective. So there are many layers there and levels. I'm still surprised to see that in Europe, and I'm talking about Europe and Europe-based experts in space policy, and there is a new brilliant generation. I saw Juliana earlier in the audience, for example, right? Based in Germany now. She was based in the UK before with Russi. But we lack also, again, a European perspective. That is, what can be done in the context of European autonomy, what can be, a better awareness of how Europe works and operates, what are the main challenges, and also this global perspective, where Europe stands in a rapidly changing world. When China is already, if I can be allowed to say, #2 in space, when India is already in the top 4 or 5 space powers, so many important developments in Africa. Of course, Africa is a continent, it's not a country, so you have a lot of variations there, a lot of different policies and strategies. Latin America, Southeast Asia. So I think it's at multiple levels that we have to think about this, I believe. So I don't know if that answered your question, Stella, but it's a brilliant one, and I think that's the kind of discussion that we need to have now.
Stella, thank you very much. And actually, you helped me bridge the discussion with the next question I have for the speakers. It's about this interdisciplinary collaboration and how could it be institutionalized rather than remaining project-based. Kai-Uwe, Nicole, any thought?
Yeah.
I could start. Hello, Stella. Good to be reconnected. As Dimitrios said, and in his response already alluded to, a very good question and highly relevant. And your follow-up question now is of course, Margareta, to the point. Nicole, shared her suffering in reading the draft EU Space Act, and if you have, in addition, read the additional elements of the regulation of regulatory issues, it's another 150 pages or 200 pages, and it shows. And you mentioned it for the aeronautics field in the beginning. Today, now, we really see that the regulatory density of space activities, be it technological, be it also in the applications, data policies and data regulations, questions which are related to authorization of space activities. You have to take that into account for every single space project. And this also means if you just make technology developments where you then after quite some time realize that this is completely out of any either political approach or approaches to regulatory reality, then you waste money, then you are in the wrong ways. So the best would of course be all Leonardo da Vinci's who know both and all fields, including technology and engineering and law and economics. But we have to a little bit at least get closer to that, in that we have to provide the information and the knowledge whom to turn to and what to consider. You don't have to know everything, but you have to know what you should know. And then you should be provided with that knowledge, with also the contacts and with at least the basics. And Stella made one point which now becomes also clear when we talk about executive courses. Dimitrios, you mentioned that. The space policy and law executive courses, and I was at one recently, and education courses like in LUIS University in Rome also do that. They are typically shaped not only for policymakers, but for people, engineers, program managers, and so on, so that they get some insight in the social sciences. But we have rarely such executive courses for on technology, engineering, and applications, which would be shaped to have the people who are doing policies, law, and so on, getting an easy access and a good understanding on that. The very first academic institution was ISU. And actually, we see that now this interdisciplinary research more often, Università, for example, I mentioned it already.
And it is led by Toulouse University, which is based in our member region, Occitanie.
Yeah, and Luxembourg plays a very strong role
it's
in
a
that.
partner, yeah.
Yep. So this is something which is really the new style, and it has to be fed, of course, by a strong and stronger academic field of space policy and the whole sector of social sciences.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe some comments from my side. Well, I agree with what Kai-Uwe was saying, basically mentioning Leonardo da Vinci. Yes, that is our, let's say, model.
Best practice.
Yes, yeah, okay. So, but of course, it makes it easier to understand each other if engineering community and social science community have a bit of understanding of each other. So it makes it easier because the first point is always understanding each other. And I understand the difficulty here because my discipline is systems engineering, design. So I'm a systems engineer, which means that I have to talk with all the specialists, fuel specialists, tractors, electrical power, everything, and put everything together. So I understand the difficulty, but of course, this is at a different level. It's even more complicated, social science engineering. But this is what we are trying to do in the space economy track. The overall background is management, and we are trying to include some technical courses like my course, which is space exploration and resources. So we are looking even beyond LEO, moon economy. So really, let's say, far away in time. And another is access to space. So we have two technical courses where the difficulty is bringing technical competences, technical skills, technical capabilities, but of course without the, let's say, the details of, I don't know, differential equations or let's say, not too technical, but at least grasping the physical phenomenon and the flow, the methodology, some basic, let's say, ideas of numbers. How many tones can we have on moon surface for a human habitat? Let's say, what are we talking about? How does it, all this, getting a little bit more familiar with the overall concepts, systems, what are the systems that we have in deep space, what are the numbers that we are talking about, what is the need in terms of electric power that we have, generally speaking, and a little bit of reasoning behind that. So this is what we are trying to bring, and this is difficult. I mean, it is difficult for us, for professors, because we need to make things, let's say, easier and to make them also interesting.
Thank you, Nicole. I see that Andreas has a comment. Maybe Dr. Lenz, it's better to take the floor and ask your question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy to. But I think what Nicole said and also Professor Schrogl said goes in the same direction as my thoughts. I think it's necessary to have a better, as far as it is possible, integrated understanding, because I feel that there is lawmakers and the policy thinkers and the political scientists, and there are the technicians and the who are thinking about making money. There is not enough interchange, and I must say, please hit me, maybe in Europe, and it may be different in the US, for instance. I feel that way, but that may be not right. Just to give you an example, there is a Space Resources Week in Luxembourg 2 years, and there's always or was a technical workshop 2 days before that. And I attended this technical workshop because I'm coming from the law side. I wanted to understand what is happening there, how far things they're dealing with. And guess what? There were 32 people, I think 2 or 3 from the policy side, and everybody else an engineer. It appeared that it was not interesting for the people who try to speak about the policies and law to understand what is actually happening. and it was really digestible for someone like me. So I think it's really necessary to raise awareness that it's good to look at things. I will never be able to understand the engineering stuff fully, but I can grasp some of the problems.
Thank you, Andreas. Dimitrios, maybe since you have a more international perspective.
Yeah, no, I think it cut both ways. There are two comments to make. I still think that we don't have a lot of political scientists and international relations experts working on space in Europe. That's significant in its own terms. I think that's very important. Also, space economists, perhaps. Secondly, though, we also have to take into consideration the density now. I think Kai-Uwe also hinted at that, the density and complexity of the space policy community. So I think that maybe 10, 20 years ago, it was even fine to say I'm an expert in space policy. Now it doesn't mean a lot because you have a more narrow understanding accompanied by a general basic technical understanding. Based on my experience, even saying I'm an expert on China and space policy doesn't mean a lot today. What aspect of China's space policy? Will the legal, historical, you know, the role of politics and international relations, how the Chinese are using space diplomacy. So I think we are seeing more density and complexity as well. So that's why I believe you have a multi-level approach there. More transdisciplinarity, but at the same time, a bit more narrowing down your expertise. And of course, how do you institutionalize that? Well, it takes some time, of course, but I believe again that the demand is already there. That's why I said we need more Kai-Uwes in this regard. But I don't know if the current silos in academia help to do that. So we also have to think more creatively about the role of institutions. So I would leave it there. It's a complicated and very timely and important question, Stella. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Stella, for your question. Really, it mobilized lots of the discussion. I have maybe Liliana, you could take the floor, or I can read your question. So we have a regional representative from Baden-Württemberg region. It's the region where the University of Kai-Uwe is located. And there she says that the best practical step, yes, please, Liliana, it's better that you say yes.
No, thank you, Margarita. Yeah, first of all, thank you everyone for the great presentations and the excellent discussion. I am in a very deep thoughts all the time, but I think now it's kind of the time that I jump in here to give my opinion, not necessarily as a regional representative, but more so as a professional with a social science background who is now into aerospace. So I come from international relations background, and I think this is so connected to my comment. I think that the best step we could do is first actually target professionals who are already into the job. For example, let's say for me it would be highly beneficial if I could have a program from which I could gain structurally the technical knowledge I need to the extent I need it for the job, and not be kind of made to do that by myself and in my own. It would be so much easier to have a structured program which I could just enroll in and then develop actually the two skill sets in parallel. And I think this is also vice versa for also space technical professionals who would like to have this knowledge.
And the staff in the public administration, just to complement, the staff working in the public administration.
Exactly my point. So that also we could raise awareness with this. So then we could go to the university levels, and when we already have something like this established as an example and as a yeah, it's possible. kind of to show it, because I think this division is still so present. Technical on one side, policy on other side, and it's for example for me, it was not okay. Which knowledge do you have to get into this industry? So it's like the first let's say impressions are, people just don't know what you're capable of doing and how important your skills actually are for the industry. So if we we need to start with baby steps to first, in my opinion, bridge these differences, and then we could take a more systemic approaches on university levels and similar. Yeah, so I hope my comment was not too long, but
yes, thank you very much, Liliana, and it's good to hear Baden-Württemberg also for in this webinar. Please, Kai-Uwe, take the floor. Whoever wants to respond to Liliana.
Yeah, very, very good points, Liliana. I fully agree. It is certainly also about the readiness of the engineers and the scientists, also those who are doing the applications, that they accept that social sciences can contribute something to their work, not only when they want to set up a business, that they go to a business incubation center where they are taught of how to structure their company and all these things, but also to understand the broader context they are working in. And there it is very much the task also of the university professors and Nicole, you with your initiatives to bring that together, the transdisciplinarity are doing exemplary works. I myself at the Institute of Political Science in Tübingen, I took, whenever I had courses on space policy, I took my students and we went to Stuttgart to DLR and to the university, the Institute for Spaceflight Systems. And we had a day there where they were taught a little bit about the mechanics and the engineering. So they not only liked that, of course, it was all fascinated, the big labs and all this, but they also got a bit of an understanding. I could do that because I worked at that time already for DLR. Now I take master and PhD students to ESA for a few days or weeks to get an insight into the practicalities they are looking at in their academic research. But there are so many other professors, full-time professors, who do not have these opportunities. And this is also something very personal, which has to come from the professors, as the education of young people, school children and younger people in school often enough comes from the own initiative of teachers who say, okay, I will teach a module on or link what I have to teach in physics and so on to space. So it is awareness. That's what I want to say. And it is to make it attractive. The politicians make it attractive when they focus on it and show we care about this policy field. We also want that things move, and that this is, however, slowly trickling down. But nevertheless, as some of you also said, we are on a not only simply said a good way, but as Dimitrios also said, and he is pushing that through all his activities, in particular with the journal also, there is a growing awareness of the impactfulness of what we are doing in the space field, and this creates then further opportunities.
Thank you, Kai-Uwe. Final comment from Dimitrios and Nicole, and then we close the webinar, because I think the time, we need to be loyal with regards to the timing for all participants. Please, Dimitrios.
Oh, very briefly, I'd just like to add a different twist here on a more pessimistic note. take a look at the map of European universities and see how many full-time academics exist, that the main thing of teaching and research is space policy. I think that's a fair way to begin to think about where we are. I think there is only one chair in Durham with Bledin-Bowen, but within the European Union member states, I think we have to do a lot of more work, and not based only on the enthusiasm and initiative of academics and scholars of the caliber of Kai-Uwe. I think, again, we need more Kai-Uves here. And this is not only, you know, because Kai-Uwe happens to be in the panel, but it has to be institutionalized, I believe, in some ways. And again, obviously, in a way that also integrates and promotes transdisciplinary space policy skills. This is for sure. But again, premised, and I think Andrea mentioned that in his point, this is happening already in the United States, but also here what we need is a European perspective to start to think about Europe and space along these terms, as again Kai-Uwe has been doing, of course, with his work for many, many years.
Thank you, Dimitrios. Liliana, thank you for your valuable comment and question. Nicole, do you have something to add?
Very briefly, I will try to be more optimistic. I agree with Dimitrios that maybe there are not so many chairs, professors in space policy at the moment. I'm not entirely aware, but I totally believe that you are right. But anyway, I know, and I'm talking with colleagues in the University of Turin, where we have law, we have policy or other social sciences, and I see that they are interested. There are some colleagues in different departments that are interested, and we are starting communicating actually, and I'm trying to, let's say, to talk more and more with them, to include them in this educational path that we have started already, the space economy, but we need to make progresses. We need to enlarge it a bit, and so we would like to include also colleagues coming from, let's say, social science, laws, etc. So not many professors right now, but a lot of interests. This is what I see.
It's a promise, right?
Yes.
Because this will be published. So a huge thanks to all of you, to the speakers for their great preparation. It takes time, believe me. That's why I'm so grateful every time to our speakers. Thanks to all regional representatives who honored this webinar with their presence. Thank you for the excellent questions and comments. Without this, the discussion wouldn't have been so interesting. So thank you very much, Stella and Liana and Andrea, the two Andreas actually. So thanks to all of you, and I will shortly share the follow-up of this webinar as of next week, and the announcement of the new one, the upcoming one. Thanks to all of you. Have a great day.
Thank you.